Hi, I'm Heather Dominguez, and today I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Nat Geo DNA test, Geno 2.0, and the Helix, which it all goes together, and also Insitome, or Insitome, depending on how you pronounce it. They are all parts of the DNA test that I just got. Right now, if you look at my screen here, you can see that buy 2 or more Geno 2.0 DNA ancestry kits for $79.95. So there's a sale right now, and this is the end of April 2018. But I'm just going to kind of talk you through how it works. I'll show you some of the results in case you're curious and you're wanting to get this done. And I'll just kind of show you what you get. So for $79.95, you get the detailed long-term ancestry. That's what this test is right here. You can get 2 or more and you get them $79.95 each. That's how it works. All right, so say you've found yourself here and you purchased this deal. These are the items that we've purchased. But I'm going to go back to shop so you can kind of see. So Helix, actually I'm going to show you the box too. This is the box. Once you buy it, you get this in the mail and it's really exciting. But it's kind of confusing because this has Geno 2.0 on it. And this box right here has the Helix. So Helix, I think if I understand this correctly, Helix is the main keeper of the DNA. And the Geno 2.0 is just like an add-on. And then if you look here at this, the Insitome website, which I'll show you that for a second, this is another add-on. So Helix is the main storage of it. And it's very confusing. I didn't really understand it at first, so I wish I would have had this video when I was trying to consider whether to do it or not. I'll show you what's inside of here. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't looked in this for a while, but it has a little magnetic box in here, and it tells you to register. There's a little bit about the Geno 2.0, and it's a collection kit, and of course I don't have it because I sent it in, but kind of nice little box, but a waste of paper if you ask me. It's all made of cardboard, but the collection box just had like a little vial that you spit into, and then you secure it and seal it up, and you shake it, and then you mail it back in. And so then it takes like 6 to 10 weeks to get your results. And I don't know if I psychically checked yesterday and it just happened to be done because I was looking at mine. Yesterday it said still sequencing. Your DNA info can now power any product available on Helix, which is interesting. So when I saw this yesterday and it said that it was processing, I may have just psychically checked at the exact time, but it seemed like we were waiting forever to hear it. Then I realized that when I started to look at my Geno 2.0, that it didn't really have that much detailed information. And so I decided to buy the regional ancestry, which happens to be on sale. If you look at this screen right here, Helix has it on sale for 25% off through April 30th. So by the time you see this, it'll probably be too late. But and also, if you just sign up for anything, if you just did the first part of it, this $79.99, you're going to get a ton of emails. We get way too many emails from them, and it was very confusing. But now that I understand what it is, I'm kind of relieved. Okay, so let's just jump right into the Geno 2.0. And this here on the left is my husband, and this is me. And so what is interesting is he was born in Mexico, and I knew that his grandfather was Spanish, but I didn't know like how much European blood he had. I really thought he was more indigenous than he is. And in the area where he lives, it seems to be like a really indigenous area. So really what this says, so when you look at it, it shows that we both have, these are genius matches here. It's not very clear to tell you the truth when you look at this. So my explanation is not going to be the best explanation of this, and you'll have to research. And I did a brief search like dummy, DNA, Geno 2.0 for dummies. I didn't see anything out there. But this right here is just saying groups of our ancestors. So in this area of one, like I'm going to show it a little bit better here in a second, but what was interesting is we both have some of the same ancestors in one of our matches. If we look under this one, we have some like obviously came from the same areas. I have less matches going back farther. His DNA goes back even farther. So maybe mine mutated at some point. I don't really know. So I'm just going to look at this in PDF format, comparing us to each other. So here I have my husband who's from Mexico. It sort of cracked me up because my older son has a Tesla. We talk a lot about Tesla. I've seen Ancient Aliens, and you know, we talk about all these contributions from Tesla. And my husband's first match here, going back 0 to 12,000, is he's in the same group of DNA of the genius of Nikola Tesla, which probably a lot of people do. I don't have any of that. I only have one match of geniuses for some reason. And again, I don't really understand it. And the 25,000 to 12,000 right here years, he doesn't have any matches, but mostly he has matches for like every section. So again, I don't really understand this part, but it's fun to look at. Then here he had 13 matches in the 65,000 to 45,000, and that's the only area that I had. And so I was joking with them yesterday with my daughter because, you know, they're part of this DNA. And I played I Get a Little Bit Genghis Khan. You know that song? Because he's genetically in some same group as Genghis Khan. He has like really varied DNA. Like, and these are just geniuses. Which was funny because I'm like the really intellectual person. He even has King Tut in here. So he has a lot of different DNA from across the world. And I thought that he was like purebred. I was so sure that he was like purebred and I am a mutt. And it turns out I'm very, very European. And he's the one that has DNA from all over the world. So that's really interesting to look at this stuff. You know, again, this part right here, I don't really understand it, but it's interesting. You can research it yourself. This is where it shows you like your regional ancestry. So I'm going to go back to the web page because it looks better than it does on here. All right, so now I'm just back on the web page and I'm comparing our regional ancestry. So this is, he has a lot of areas. You can see where he has DNA here and here and here and here. And this is very interesting because my husband is very brown and he's not too tall. He's so cute. I mean, he's gorgeous. But we actually have European DNA, and that's the most of the DNA in our system is Europe. His mostly Southwestern Europe. I'm mostly Northwestern Europe. But he's from Mexico, and I thought that he was really indigenous, so this is interesting. So now I'm actually not going to scroll down. I'm going to explore our results. So this is the initial regional look at it. And again, this goes back more in terms of, on this particular part of the Geno 2.0, it's showing the group of ancestors that we come from and the sort of the journey that your ancestors took. But it's not that detailed in it, but it is still interesting. Right here, your results. So these are just showing, because I have it so small, you can't actually get it all on the same page here, but this shows here that he's primarily from Southwestern Europe, and it kind of explains the little bits of everything that he has. And I'm pretty much, I'm according to this, I'm 100% European. So Eastern Europe, that would be, you know, like Russian and Czechoslovakian. Southwestern Europe, I think that's, you know, Spain and Italy and that sort of thing. And Northwestern, I think it's Northwestern Europe. This one, let's see if I click here. That is, you know, England and everything like that. So he doesn't have any Northwestern Europe, but he has Southwestern Europe. He has North America and Andes, and this is just going all, this is basically his Mexican heritage, his Native American heritage, all the way down to South America. And then he has African, and he has Asian, Siberian, and South American going all the way down into like Peru and that sort of thing. So that is what's interesting. Then the next thing that they say, they tell you what is the closest kind of DNA that you have to. So they're basically saying because he has this, you know, his grandfather was Spanish or whatever, his first reference point of basically who he's closest to is a Mexican American that lives in Los Angeles. He's like very similar DNA wise to that area. And he was from central Mexico when he was born. So that's kind of interesting. I found that kind of interesting. But this is what a Mexican American looks in Los Angeles, like an average one, when they average it out. And they have almost 1 million samples. So he has a Southwestern Europe. He's very European. It's so interesting. and Western Africa is just, he's a mutt. And I really thought that he was going to be the purebred one. And I'm very close to German, which I was always told that I was Dutch. So, I mean, I suppose Dutch and Germany are the same sort of area. Then my second reference point is French, what the French people are like. You know, I didn't know that I would be compared to like French people at all. And then he's compared to Peruvians. So this is pretty funny. We got a big chuckle out of the fact that he's from Africa. And my daughter came in and said some joke like, hey, I'm African or something like that. I said, don't tell him yet. So she tries to pretend like she's not going to say anything. So he walks into the kitchen last night. My husband walks in. So you're African? I was like, it's not me. It was pretty funny. I'm purebred English. I mean English. Purebred European. And, but this is still the top. It doesn't really nail it down, right? There's more information in here. If we go back to the dashboard. So I'm going to show you here. You go back to the dashboard. I'm going to go back to the dashboard on mine. And there's a little bit more information in here, but that, for me, that was the most fun part of it. This is, again, oh yeah, this is the other thing. I don't understand this part very well. You'll have to look that up. But this says how much Neanderthal you are compared to the average person. And apparently I am 1.5% Neanderthal, and my husband is 1.3% Neanderthal. And so we're more than the average person Neanderthal. And here with me thinking I'm so intellectual. Anyway, so see right here, as of this time, there was 907,000, almost a million participants in this study. So it's pretty cool. It will just keep getting more and more. I printed it, breaking the code. Oh no, I did watch something like this. The keys to discovery. These are videos just explaining the process that they've gone through in their research. Okay, so that's that. Now, I saw this and I was like, what? I want more information. And they have a sale right now, like I was saying, where you could buy on Helix 25% off, but that's only right now. And so I went in and I purchased the regional ancestry. So let's go in there and take a look at that and begin story. This thing, the begin story, it's sort of useless. It's just reading. I would like a video that kind of took you through your journey and sort of bop, 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 and said like your family is from here and then it did this, but it doesn't. It explains you how that works, but it doesn't show it specific to you. And I really would appreciate something like that. But you can see here, I'm 100% Europe. I'm not even interesting at all, and I thought I was going to have something in there. You know how a lot of Americans think that they're Native American. No, but, and then my husband had no idea that he has the same kind of DNA as Native American. So he's 48% European, and he's from Mexico, so this was pretty surprising to him. But when you start to dig a little bit deeper down, this is mine again on this side, you can see that, I need to move this up just a tiny bit. Okay. So you can see that the specific regions, and not just dumping all the European together, but, you know, I'm 2% Finnish. He's 2% Finnish. That's pretty funny. Well, let's go back in here. I think it says either in this one or the other one, it tells you whether it came from your mother or your father. So Eastern European, I'm going to click on, I have Western European, of course. So let me go back here a little. I'll leave this off. So, oh, we both have Western European. All right, so I think it puts it in order here of what you have the most of. So I'm Western European, and I was going to compare it to his Western European. So it's exactly the same language in here, but because it's just preset, it just shows up, populates. But this is English, British Isle. I can't believe he's 20% Western European. He's 20% English from the UK, Ireland, and coast of France and Germany. That is amazing. You see, his grandfather, they knew that he was of Spanish descent, but they didn't know that he was of Spanish descent from Spain, but he wasn't actually a Spaniard. His bloodline is a mixture of things. So, and then his grandfather married to a more indigenous person. So, I am just flabbergasted that he is 20% Western European and English. It's amazing. It means that my children actually did a little spreadsheet. Let me see if I can bring it up. I was trying to figure out how much my children are, because, you know, my kids were like, did you get one for me? I'm like, No, I didn't get one for you, because you just figure out what I have and what your father has and do the math, and then you already know what you have. I'm not going to keep buying more and more for each person. But I'm going to bring up that spreadsheet in a moment. Here it is. All right, I'm going to show you right over here. So I was figuring out what my kids are, because since my husband is so much European, you see that Southwestern European? He's more Southwestern European than I am, but combined, I'm all European. So he's my... Hey, hold on. That doesn't make sense. I thought when I was looking in here, it said something different. Wait, what am I doing? Let me go back here to this. East Western European subregions. Well, the East European, Western European, Ashanti in North Mediterranean. This one reads the information. Okay, that's what's a little confusing about this. Let me back up. I'm going to try to fix this. When I looked at this about us, I took this from the Geno 2.0. Okay, it's a little bit different if you look at the Insitome comparison. But if just taken from the Geno 2.0, this is what I figured for my husband and I. It's saying he's 41%. But if you look at this one, that's a little bit different, regional, it shows a little bit different information. I should do one. I should create, I should create 2 spreadsheets. But my point is that my kids, if you look at all this European, 38%. So I took our 2 things, added together, and divided it in half. And that means my kids are European. They're like 40, 60, 70, about almost 70% European. And I didn't think that at all was going to happen. But then they also have this Western Africa, Northern, Central Asian, and South America. But I'm going to go back to this one. So these results are slightly different than the way that you read the Geno 2.0. Doesn't make it wrong. These are just dialing down even closer, and I think it's very, very interesting. So I show in here, so the Eastern Europe, we did the Western European, that is, you know, English or whatever. Let's try the Eastern European and see what this says. So I'm 23% Eastern European, and he's 21% Eastern European. So the other one, this is very interesting. So this is like Czech Republic. So we have like Russian sort of blood in us. No idea. No freaking idea that we have this Russian blood. I did not even think it at all. It's just amazing. Never ever in my wildest dreams did I think that I had some Russian DNA. I mean, not that it's that far. That's not a problem. I just didn't know. So then, you know, I have Basque. So here's the thing that didn't make any sense to me. I have, you know, Basque is between French and Spain. That's the closest thing to Spain that's on here. I have 10% of that of Spanish blood, and my husband has none. And here I thought that he was Spanish. That's really interesting. Well, I don't really, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit more. This is what they show for Ashkenazi, which is like Jewish. We both have some of that. He has 5%. No, I have 3%. So it's really interesting in here. You can go through and look at all these if you get this yourself. But then what's more interesting to me is the DNA that he has. Because he has, when you go back and look at this, I'm 100% European. I'm just European. I'm like, bleh, done, boring. And I don't know if you know, the climate right now in the United States is like, immigrants, get out. You know, my husband's an immigrant. He came from Mexico. But my DNA isn't from here. And his DNA, he's from here, from the Americas. He's 32% from the Americas. But it's North America, 9%. So this is what is really fascinating to me. The subregion of the Americas, you're 9% North America, Canada, and IC territory. So this talks about, look at this. We live in Portland, Oregon, the Pacific Northwest. This gives me chills. I mean, how bad immigrants are being treated. But look at this. He's 9% in his DNA. His family lines going all the way back and back and back, thousands of years. He's 9% from this area. And immigrants are treated so bad. It's insane. So anyway, so this is really interesting. I found that very fascinating. I already had a hunch that the Indians type people from Mexico were bloodly related. to the Native Americans up here, but he's literally from the Native Americans in this area. That's what I find just remarkable. And okay, so Central and South American, this is basically, if you look at it, there's like, where was it? When you read this a little bit, I can't remember where I was reading this, but this is talking about the people that came across the Bering Sea and came down. So he's basically 19% Mexican, you know, and going down into South America. And I thought there was like a better reference somewhere, but I'd have to go and look it up. And he's North American and Amazonian. So this is, he's also like, has a little bit of blood from down in South America. And so this is another really fascinating thing. He's 5% African, which I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the slaves were brought into Mexico and, you know, they kind of integrated in. So he's very specifically 5% Bantu, and no idea of this. He does not seem like that at all, but it's pretty funny. And Oceania, so this is like, you know, down in the islands around Papua New Guinea or Australia. So he's 2% of that. So it's just fascinating stuff. Oh, and here's the last thing that's hilarious. I guess, actually, am I reading this correctly? Yeah. Okay, so then he's also 13% from Asia. So Siberia, that would, Northern Asian, Central Asian, Austronesian. So it kind of overlaps here and there. But it's just fascinating. We had no idea that his DNA was so varied. And I'm just plain old white. And the last thing I want to say is, if you had to live in where your DNA came from, because there's a lot of nationalists trying to say, this is my country or whatever. And I'm white as you come. If you had to live where your DNA come, I don't belong here. I belong in Europe. And my husband, he has more right to be here as an immigrant because his family, I mean, Ancestry doesn't know, you know, borders. His family, his ancestry literally comes mostly from this area, and I don't know how many people can say that when they're trying to be do nationalism and say that they belong there. I mean, I'm European. It's kind of interesting, but I think it really opens my eyes to the way that people look at this. But that is all I wanted to explain that to you, and I hope that you found it helpful. And that's the end of my video. Thanks.